Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. If you're new here, my name is Neve and it would mean the world to me if you would stick around. I just want to start off this video by apologising for my lack of video last week. I do have a good excuse, I promise. I had COVID, I was in my bed and I did not sound even remotely acceptable to be filming videos. My voice just completely... it didn't disappear, but nobody would have wanted to sit through a video of me like croaking my way through anything. So it didn't happen. But we're here now. My voice is back to normal. I'm feeling fine. And tomorrow I finally can get out of isolation. So woo woo. Today's video is going to be a book haul as well as discussing some of my reading goals for the next year, which admittedly I probably should have done in January, but I didn't, so we're doing it now. This will be my first book haul of the year and hopefully there won't be another one for a little while because I really need to read the books that I already have. But I'm really excited about all of these books that I've bought in the past couple of weeks and I thought I would show you guys. So for those of you who didn't know, over the sort of Christmas into January period I was working as a seasonal temp in a bookshop, and part of the nice perk of that is that I did get a discount as a staff member and therefore bought a lot of books. I'm not going to show you all of the books that I bought during my time there in this video because some of them I bought like too long ago and I've read some of them and like showed them already and it just would have been a bit of a disjointed video. But I am going to show you all of the books that I bought sort of near the end, like the last couple of weeks of my time there. Also I have two books that I didn't get from work and one book that I got as a proof, and I'm excited to share them with you. So, in order of places they've come from, let's just get started. So I'm first going to show you the book I got as a proof because there's only one of those, and that is the paperback of Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. This is Waterstone's fiction book of the month for February, so if you're interested in getting yourself a copy of this, you're almost guaranteed to be able to get one in the Waterstones nearest to you if you have a Waterstones near you, and I would highly recommend giving it a go. I have read this since I got it pre this video and I do recommend it. I'll go into more detail about it in my monthly wrap up as I always do, but I'll read you the blurb for each book in this haul just in case you're intrigued about any of them. Two young people meet at a pub in southeast London. Both are black, British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggled to belong. Both are now artists. He a photographer, she a dancer. Trying to make their mark in a city that by turns celebrates and rejects them. Tentatively, tenderly, they fall in love. But two people who seem destined to be together can still be torn apart by fear and violence. At once an achingly beautiful love story and a potent insight into race and masculinity, Open Water asks what it means to be a person in a world that sees you only as a black body, to be vulnerable when you are only respected for strength, to find safety in love only to lose it. With gorgeous soulful intensity, Caleb Azuma Nelson has written the most essential British debut of recent years. There you go. The next two books I'm going to show you I bought because I had an Amazon voucher, and I've pretty much stopped buying books from Amazon over the past year, but I had a voucher to use, and when I first went into isolation I thought I'm going to buy myself some books so that they come later on in my isolation when I'm beginning to lose the plot a bit and it'll give me something to look forward to opening. So the first book that I bought with my Amazon voucher was Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, which I have listened to the audiobook of but never read, which is why I bought it. Also the sequel comes out later on this year and I wanted to have a reread of the first one before I bought the second one. I literally have just finished reading this about 10 minutes ago previous to filming this video. I very much enjoyed it. I will read you the blurb for this one as well. Luke O'Donnell is tangentially and reluctantly famous. I don't think I've said that word right. His rockstar parents split when he was young, and the father he's never met spent the next 20 years cruising in and out of rehab. Now that his dad's making a comeback, Luke's back in the public eye, and one compromising photo is enough to ruin everything. To clean up his image, Luke has to find a nice, normal relationship. And Oliver Blackwood is as nice and normal as they come. He's a barrister and an ethical vegetarian, and he's never inspired a moment of scandal in his life. In other words, perfect boyfriend material. Unfortunately, apart from being gay, single, and really, really in need of a date for a big event, Luke and Oliver have nothing in common. So they strike a deal to be publicity-friendly fake boyfriends until the dust has settled. Then they can go back to their separate ways and pretend it never happened. But the thing about fake dating is that it can feel a lot like real dating. And that's when you get used to someone, start falling for them, and don't want to ever let them go. It's just like a fun fake dating book. It's just like a fun fake dating book. The next book that I got with my Amazon voucher is also by Alexis Hall, and that is Something Fabulous. This, I think, is their newest release. I had a conversation about this book with a co-worker and their partner, and I was like, that sounds like exactly the fun kind of nonsense that I need in my life right now. So I bought it. I'll read you the blurb for this one too. Valentine Layton, the Duke of Malvern, has twin problems, literally. It's always his father's hope that Valentine would marry Miss Arabella Tarleton. But unfortunately, too many novels at an impressionable age have caused her to grow up romantic. So romantic that a marriage of convenience will not do, and after Valentine's proposal, she flees into the night, determined to never set eyes on him again. Arabella's twin brother, Mr. Bonaventure Bonnie Tarleton, has also grown up romantic, and fully expects Valentine to ride out after Arabella and prove to her that he's not the cold-hearted cad he seems to be. Despite copious misgivings, Valentine finds himself on a pell-mell chase to Dover with Bonnie by his side. Bonnie is unreasonable, overdramatic, annoying, and beautiful. And being with him makes Valentine question everything he thought he knew, about himself, about love, even about which Tarleton he should be pursuing. It's Regency era fluff. What more could you want? Exactly. So there you go. So those are the two books that I got with my Amazon voucher. And next up are the books that I got when I was working at a bookshop. Ready? Let's go. The first one is A Winter's Promise by Christelle DeBoss. I don't know. I'll read you the book. Lose yourself in the fantastic world of the arcs and in the company of the unforgettable characters in this French runaway hit. A mix of awkward misfit and misunderstood genius, Ophelia cares little about appearances or other people's opinions of her. She possesses two special gifts: a talent for reading the pasts of objects and the ability to travel through mirrors. Her peaceful existence on Anima is interrupted when she is promised in marriage to the taciturn Thorn, a member of a powerful clan from a cold and distant arc. This is YA fantasy from a series that I think has 4 books in it, and I'm quite excited to give it a try. I've been dipping my toes into the fantasy genre because it was never really a genre that I spent much time in. I thought it was something that I didn't particularly enjoy, but I've read a couple of sci-fi novels in the past couple of months and really enjoyed them, so I'm branching out and testing the waters, and I'm very excited for this to be one of the books that I do with. Next up is Girl Meets Boy by Ali Smith. This is a Greek myth retelling, and honestly I don't really know anything else about it other than that it's a nice short book and that it's a Greek myth retelling, and that was enough to sell me. But I will read you the blurb. Girl Meets Boy is a story as old as time, but what happens when an old story meets a brand new set of circumstances? Ali Smith's remix of Ovid's most joyful metamorphosis is a story about the kind of fluidity that can't be bottled and sold. It's about girls and boys, girls and girls, love and transformation, a story of puns and doubles, reversals and revelations, funny and fresh, poetic and political. Here is a tale of change for the modern world. That actually sounds fascinating, so I'm quite excited to give that a go. Next up we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This I am buying because it is all over literally everywhere just now, and I really enjoyed Jack Edwards' review of it. It made me very curious, so I thought that I would give it a go. I will read you the blurb. In a small back alley in Tokyo, there is a cafe which has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. But this coffee shop offers its customers a unique experience, the chance to travel back in time. In Before the Coffee Gets Cold, we meet 4 visitors, each of whom is hoping to make use of the cafe's time-travelling offer, in order to confront the lover who left them, receive a letter from their husband whose memory has begun to fade, see their sister one last time, and meet the daughter they never got the chance to know. But the journey into past does not come without risks. Customers must sit in a particular seat, they cannot leave the cafe, and finally they must return to the present before the coffee gets cold. Toshikazu Kawaguchi's beautiful moving story explores the age-old question, what would you change if you could travel back in time? More importantly, who would you want to meet, maybe for the last time? I'm really excited about this book, so keep an eye out for it in a wrap-up at some point. Next up, we have Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I'm going to be honest with you, I bought this book purely and only in the first place because it was on the queer fiction table at work, and I always would like to read more queer fiction, so I bought it. But it does actually sound really interesting. So, the blurb. Who says you can't run away from your problems? Arthur Less is a failed novelist about to turn 50. A wedding invitation arrives in the post. It's from an ex-boyfriend of 9 years who's engaged to someone else. Arthur can't say yes, it would be too awkward. He can't say no, it would look like a defeat. So he begins to accept the invitations on his desk to half-baked literary events around the world. From France to India, Germany to Japan, Arthur almost falls in love, almost falls to his death, and puts miles between him and the plight he refuses to face. Less is a novel about mishaps, misunderstandings, and the depth of the human heart. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Sounds like fun. Next up, we have The Psychology of Time by Kate Mascarenhas. I, completely honest with you again, bought this because one of my co-workers recommended it to me and I trust their opinion with my life, so I bought it immediately. Well, I didn't buy it immediately, but I bought it with no other questions asked. I didn't even read the blurb when I bought it. I seen it and I went, yeah, you're coming home with me. And that was that. But I will read you the blurb. 1967. 4 female scientists invent a time travel machine. But then one of them suffers a public breakdown and puts the whole project in peril. 2017. Ruby knows her Granny B was the scientist who went mad, but they never talk about it, until they receive a message from the future. Warning of an elderly woman's violent death. 2018. Odette found the woman at work, shot in the head, door bolted from the inside. Now she can't get her out of her mind. Who was she? And why is everyone determined to cover up her murder? There you go. Quite exciting, I have to say. And I'm really enjoying that the cover of this book, all of the like drawings and stuff look like they've been embroidered or like cross-stitched. That's fun. Next up we have Luster by Raven Lalani with orange sprayed edges. Exciting. I bought this book because I'd seen loads of people talk about it for a really long time and had been quite curious to try it, but really I would prefer not to read a book in hardback if I can avoid it, and I wasn't really that desperate to read it, so I decided to wait for it to come out in paperback so I could read it in paperback. There you go. Edie is just trying to survive. She's messing up in her dead-end job and her relationship with Eric, a white middle-aged archivist in an open marriage, is not uncomplicated. When she visits the suburban home Eric shares with his wife, Edie doesn't think she will be asked to stay, or asked to provide advice to their adopted black daughter. Least of all does Edie expect that there she will be given space to do things that mean the most to her, to paint, to document on canvas her own life, finally. this sounds messy, and that intrigues me. And a lot of people have compared the sort of character building in this to Sally Rooney novels, and I think that if that's true, reading this will help me decide with some sense of finality how I actually feel about Sally Rooney novels. So it's like a win-win-win, and I'm excited. Next up we have Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. I've been meaning to read this book for a really long time, and it's one of those books that I've always been like, that's on my TBR, and then I always just end up buying something else, and then I'll look at my TBR and I'll be like, I wanted that. And I was getting agitated about it, and then I seen this copy and it's got floral edges, and I thought, yeah, that's enough to finally convince me to buy it. This is YA contemporary fiction, and I'll read you the blurb. It's easier sometimes to love when you know it's a love you can't have. Felix's love has never been in love, and yes, he's painfully aware of the irony. He desperately wants to know what it's like and why it seems so easy for everyone but him to find someone. What's worse is that even though he's proud of his identity, Felix also secretly fears that he's one marginalisation too many, black, queer and transgender, to ever get his own happily ever after. When an anonymous student begins sending him transphobic messages after publicly posting Felix's dead name alongside images of him before he transitioned, Felix comes up with a plan for revenge. What he didn't count on, his catfish scenario landing him in a quasi-love triangle. But as he navigates his complicated feelings, Felix begins a journey of questioning and self-discovery that helps redefine his most important relationship, how he feels about himself. Felix Ever After is an honest and layered story about identity, falling in love, and recognising the love that you deserve. We have two more left. First up is I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. This is the only full-size novel of Alice Oseman's that I've not read yet, so it was like a logical step to buy it and complete the canon, I guess. Also, I have enjoyed her novels more and more as I've read the next one, so on that trend, this one might be my favourite. I hope so. If not, I hope that I enjoy it either way. But I'll read you the blurb. For Angel, life is about one thing. The Ark, a pop rock trio of teenage boys taking the world by storm. Being part of the Ark's fandom has given her everything she loves. Her friend Juliet, her dreams, her place in the world. Jimmy owes everything to the Ark. He's their frontman, and playing in a band with his mates is all he ever dreamed of doing. But dreams don't always turn out the way you think. And when Jimmy and Angel are unexpectedly thrust together, they find out how strange and surprising facing up to reality can be. Funny and wise, I Was Born for This is a stunning reflection on the power of believing in something, especially yourself. This seems very similar in idea to some of her other books, and I've enjoyed that aspect of all of her other books, so I'm very excited to read this one. And last but not least, in fact, arguably the star of this show, because it's the only hardback and it's the newest release, I think, is Pandora by Susan Stokes Chapman. This is a Greek myth retelling, which is obviously why I bought it, or at least it's inspired by Greek myth, and it's gorgeous. It is an absolutely stunning, I mean, look at the end pages. Yeah, and the actual book is pretty plain, but the spine is gorgeous. And the blurb. London, 1799. Dora Blake is an aspiring jewellery artist who lives with her uncle in what used to be her parents' famed shop of antiquities. When a mysterious Greek vase is delivered, Dora is intrigued by her uncle's suspicious behaviour and enlists the help of Edward Lawrence, a young antiquarian scholar. Edward sees the ancient vase as a key to unlocking his academic future. Dora sees it as a chance to restore the shop to its former glory and to escape her nefarious uncle. But what Edward discovers about the vase has Dora questioning everything she's believed about her life, her family, and the world as she knows it. As Dora uncovers the truth, she starts to realise that some mysteries are buried and some doors are locked for a reason. That sounds pretty damn interesting. And I've not read a lot of historical fiction, which I suppose this probably is, so another new genre. I'm really excited. And it also just is like such a gorgeous book. Like, I took one look at it and I was like, yeah, you're coming home with me. Which I've said many a time in this video, because as you might have been able to tell, I've got very little not self-respect, that's the word I was looking for. I've got very little willpower when it comes to not buying books. I always just buy the books. Self-restraint is the word I was looking for. I don't have that. I just buy them. And yeah, that is the haul portion of this video finished. I hope that you've found a book in it that piques your interest, takes your fancy, that you would like to buy. Okay, I'm sorry if it looks like the angle of this is moved a lot, or I look like I've moved a lot. My phone cut out as I was about to start filming the next bit of the video, and I've tried to get it back in as close to the right place as possible, but I'm not 100% sure I've managed to do it, so I'm very sorry about that. But anyway, moving on to my goals for the year in terms of reading. So I've got a couple of like broader goals and then a couple of like very niche specific ones. So I'll start with the broader ones. My first kind of main goal for this year is just to branch out my genres slightly. I feel like I spent a lot of last year reading contemporary YA fiction, and then as the year progressed just moved on to contemporary adult fiction, which I enjoyed. I'm not complaining, but I do think it would be good to branch out a little bit and try some new things. It's been a long time since I have tried new things, and therefore I don't know whether I like it or not, and it seems now to me seems like the perfect time to start. So yeah, branching out a little bit, mainly trying fantasy again, because fantasy is such a broad genre that I refuse to believe that I don't like any of it. But I was operating on the assumption that I didn't like any of it, and I just don't think it's true. So yeah, and other things too. I'm always up for giving some new things a go. Sort of along the same line as reading more genres is I would like to read more plays, which I suppose is like a form thing, but you get what I mean. One of my main interests in this world, as well as reading, is theatre. I love theatre, I would like to study it, and therefore I feel like it's in my best interest, both academically and for my own enjoyment, to read more plays than what I'm currently reading. I think that I would enjoy it if I just did it, so I'm going to do it. I think there's like a thing about reading plays where sometimes you just really feel like you would enjoy better if you could just go and see them, but logistically that's very difficult because the theatre is very expensive, and me as one person has very little sway on which plays theatres put on, but much more control over which plays I read. So I'd like to read some more. I've bought some plays that I've heard a lot of good things about, or by playwrights that I know I've liked other things by, etc, etc, to try and gradually like expand my reading to include more plays. I'm excited. I'd also like to read some Shakespeare, which counts towards plays because, you know, I'm talking about his plays, but I would like to give reading Shakespeare plays a go on my own, because the only time I've ever really read Shakespeare before has been for classes, and I've enjoyed them, but I think what holds me back from reading them alone is the fact that there's no one else. Like, I feel that puts a little bit more onus on me making sure that I can understand what's going on and that I'm paying attention, and that's a little bit daunting, but I feel like if I could just buck it up and try, I would get a lot out of it, and I genuinely think that I really enjoy reading Shakespeare, so that is another goal. Generally, might not be a this year goal, but it's a goal. And my other sort of form genre type goal is that I would like to read more non-fiction. I like to learn, and therefore I think I would benefit from reading more non-fiction. One sort of specific example of that being, I bought the transgender issue by Sean Fay, and I would love to read that. It's like an actual goal of mine this year to read that book. I'd like to read more queer history, queer text in a non-fiction sense, so I'm excited to try and delve into that a little bit. If you were wondering, my reading goal number wise for the year is 50 books. I think I'll achieve it. I think I underestimated slightly quite how much my reading volume has increased last year to the year before, so I think that, especially if I stay on the track that I've been reading throughout January, February, that I've got a very good chance of making and possibly exceeding my goal. If you would like to keep up with how that plays out through the year, you're more than welcome to follow me on StoryGraph, which is what I use. I will leave the link to my StoryGraph in my bio. Feel free to give me a follow over there so you can see what I'm currently reading, how long it takes me to get through books, etc, etc. My more specific goals for this year, sort of like book or series specific goals, are I would like to finish the Skullduggery Pleasant books. I'm less than halfway through, probably about a quarter of the way through, but it is only February, so I'm hoping throughout the year that I can read all of them. This isn't all of them. I think there's 4 more than this. So, you know, it's a bit of a commitment, but it's a commitment I'm excited to make because I've really enjoyed them so far, which you would know if you happened to watch last month's wrap up. I had lots of very good things to say about these books. And my other sort of main specific book goal is I need to read Maurice by E.M. Forster. I've been trying to read this book for so long, and then I keep forgetting to do it, and then being so mad that I've not done it yet because it's a book that I really genuinely want to read. But it will be my second classic I've read ever, which I think is part of what's scaring me slightly and why I've not actually done it yet. But I've owned this book for so long and wanted to read this book for so long. I need to read it. So the plan is to read it like now. Try and read it in February so that I can just read it and stop putting it off or forgetting about it, because I really want to do it. So there you go, that's probably my one most specific goal for the year, is read Maurice. And that is it, I think. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you got a book recommendation or something from my haul. Please share with me in the comments what your reading goals for this year are. I love hearing people talk about their reading plans and experiences and goals. Do we have a goal in common? If you have heard me telling you about my reading goals and have any fantasy, sci-fi, anything recommendations that is out with the general books that I tend to read, if you've got any non-fiction recommendations, let me know. I would love to hear them. If you're not subscribed already, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your week. See you later. Bye bye.